Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Municipalities of Monroeville's regular council meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 9th, 2016, approximately 7 p.m. If we'd all kindly rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mayor Cinco.
Here.
Mrs. Gatos.
Here.
Dr. Griesbach.
Here.
Mr. Harvey.
Here.
Mr. Johns.
Here.
Mr. Clary.
Here.
Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Little.
Here.
Mr. Lally.
Here.
Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mr. Sedlak.
Here.
Before I open up for public comment on the agenda items only, I do want to make a little bit of a comment, if I may. If you all remember last Thursday, I just did the pledge and not a moment of silence. I was asked by a couple of residents at Giant Eagle why I didn't do that. If you remember, when I first took office and many, many years prior to that, when we did the work session, there was no Pledge of Allegiance, there wasn't no moment of silence, no nothing. The only difference between what we did then and what I did this past Thursday is I feel it's very appropriate to always open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I think most of you know me how I feel about our nation's flag, our nations who served the flag, and those who gave their lives so we can live as free as we do. And if obviously some may not be pleased with that, but as long as I sit as mayor, that will remain. And we'll go from there. And now I'll open up for public comment on proposed agenda items only. Proposed agenda items only. Seeing none, Mr. Little, if you would.
Okay, we're going to go to the motions under the agenda. First motion is a recommendation from the municipal manager for a motion to accept the resignation letter of Bruce Dyson Associates, P.C., as Municipality of Monroeville Solicitor effective February 3rd, 2016.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments on this item?
Question, comment.
Please.
I'd just like to say something short here. And my hope would be that Mr. Dice would reconsider his resignation. But I realize, now that this is impossible. Solicitor Dice and his firm served Monroeville and the residents with total professionalism for the past 19 years. His knowledge of municipal law, in my opinion, is second to none. Over the years, Bruce has become a friend, and he will be missed. I'd like to thank Bruce and his firm for their years of dedicated service for Monroeville.
Any other comments or questions on this item before you, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Johns.
No.
Mr. Clary.
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Mr. Duncan.
No.
Mr. Wilson.
No.
Mr. Little?
Okay, the second is a recommendation from the municipal manager for a motion to appoint the law office of Robert J. Ratcher, LLC, as Solicitor of the Municipality of Monroeville. And Mr. Ratcher has resigned from the zoning hearing, Solicitor of the Zoning Hearing Board, because the two, you cannot serve as a Solicitor to the Zoning Hearing Board and the Municipal Solicitor. So he's already, council has his resignation letter.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, questions or comments on this item? I apologize.
I do have a question on that.
Sure.
I'm just curious what we're voting on to accept him. Do we see an agreement or a salary ordinance or requirements? Or, I've seen nothing, so I just don't know what's...
I haven't received anything.
And it's nothing towards Mr. Ratcher. I'm just curious, are we privy to see a salary ordinance or not an ordinance, but a salary agreement?
let me just answer if I can. I'm not sure I have the correct answer, but I'll answer to the best of my ability. Apparently, a letter was submitted, am I correct?
Yes.
And I guess it'll be distributed out, and you'll still have your opportunity to make your comments on that.
It'll be distributed after the vote.
Yes. Well, you got to remember now,
This is just for the resigning for...
any other questions or comments?
No, that's all.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
No.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Wilson?
Okay, you want to go back to the?
Yeah, and then we'll go back to our regular presentation. And Tim, if you would, who's handling the presentation?
Okay, this is Mark Hudson. I believe you're in the audience.
I'm Mark Hudson. I'm the head of the Adult Services Department at the Monroeville Public Library, and I'm here to just talk briefly.
Excuse me, Mark. Folks, there are seats over here in the corner for anybody who would like to sit. There are seats over this way. Sorry, Mark.
Okay. I'm here to talk about a new initiative that the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium is spearheading in partnership with the Monroeville Public Library and Mon Valley Circles. It's a community read, and we're calling it Our Book, Our Community. The tagline is, what if the entire community read the same book at the same time? And I've distributed copies of the book to everyone on
Well, thank you
council,
for that.
And the book, our goal is to engage the community in discussing the issues of poverty and inequality as they affect our neighbors. To that end, we chose Barbara Ehrenreich's Nickel and Dimed on Not Getting By in America. Ehrenreich is a journalist who spent 3 months working first as a waitress, then as a maid, and then as a Walmart clerk to see if she could subsist on a minimum wage income. So far, 15 book discussions and 3 programs are scheduled. Those are listed on your bookmarks that we gave you with the books. They start this month and they'll run through May. All events are free and open to the public. We have more copies of the book if anyone here wants them. We have plenty of copies. You can call me at the library, 412-372-0500, extension 113, and I will get you a copy. To repeat, all the events are free and open to the public, and the books are free. We will give you a copy of the book. We hope you'll read it and join us for some of the events that are listed on your bookmarks.
Thank you, Mark.
Also, you can go to the MIM website, mimcares.org/read, and you'll see all the events that are going on. I think that's on the handout that we gave you.
Tim, if you'll put that up on our website for the residents to be able to see that.
Will this also be on the library's website?
There will be a link from the library's homepage.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Why
on
don't
our
you
website as well.
have Nicole email that to me, okay? The link?
The link
You
to
can
the-
email it to me, Mark.
The library website, or
No, you're talking about, you just mentioned about a link.
MIMCARES, MIMCARES.org /read. And there'll be a link, if you go to monroevillelibrary.org, there'll be a link on
Okay.
the
There's
homepage
a
as
link,
well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, an executive session announcement. Council conducted an executive session for personnel litigation reasons on January 27th, 2016, beginning at 7 p.m. until 8:45 p.m., and before Citizens Night on Thursday, February 4th, 2016, beginning at 6 p.m. and ending at 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at this evening's regular business meeting. Council, if you'll look at the reorganization meeting of January 4th, 2016, the Citizens Night meeting of January 4th, 2016, the council work session of January 4th, 2016, and the regular council meeting of January 12th, 2016. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, motion on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
And over our reports of our tax collections, any additions or corrections, council? Seeing none, motion on the floor.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Any additions or corrections on our payroll report, council? Seeing none, motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
And list of bills and budget transfers, any additions or corrections? Seeing none, motion on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And council, any nominations or appointments?
I do, Mayor.
I do.
I do.
Well, let's start off with you, Tom. We'll just work down the line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to appoint Beth Belasco, excuse me, to the Finance Authority. She has many years of experience
She has to be
in
nominated.
the banking industry.
She has to be
Tom,
nominated.
nomination.
She has to be
Pardon me?
Nominate.
Nominated, Tom.
I would like to nominate
Very good.
Beth Belasco
Is there a second?
to the
Second.
Finance Authority.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any other nominations or appointments, Mr. Wilson? Any others?
No, thank you.
Steve?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Dawn Russo to the Planning Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any others,
I'd
Steve?
like to appoint Mike Elko to the Parks and Recreation Advisory
Is there a
Board.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any other, Steve?
And I'd like to nominate, I'm going to mess this, the Jenny Smith, to the Human Needs and Resources Advisory Board.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
That's it.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Paul, any nominations or appointments?
Yes, sir.
Jim, any nominations or?
Yes, sir, I have one. I would like to nominate Allison Story to the Convention Visitors Bureau.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Ron?
None. None, Mayor.
And Linda?
Yes, I would like to appoint Nancy Lapsovich for the Ethics Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any others, Linda?
Yes, I would like to reappoint Georgina Woodhall to the Planning Commission for a
There-
second term.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any other, Linda?
That's it, thank you.
All righty, Tim, if you'll go to the consent agenda, number 3.
Okay, number 3, a motion to place a quarter-page advertisement in the amount of $60 in the program, the Gateway School Musical Art on the Town. Mr. Wilson, at the work session on Thursday, had a question about what are the costs for all of the different size pages in the brochure. and
I
that
believe
is-
last year we did a full page.
It's a pleasure of council, whatever council. They're in the
I
orange
would like
packet.
to recommend that we do a full page, which is $90 versus
That's a half
That's a
page.
half
$60.
page.
That's a half page, Tom.
Or, I'm sorry.
Full
Half-
page is 150.
Correct.
Half page.
Yes, correct.
I'm good with that.
That's fine.
So, help me out here, Bob. Since we already have 60, he wants to change it to 90. Do I get a motion to rescind the 60?
I think you can just place the motion for the amount that you want to spend.
All right. You're making the motion.
I make a
90.
motion to take a half page at $90.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Tim, if you would.
Okay, motion number 4, a motion to authorize the advertising and ordinance to enter in an agreement with other member municipalities of the Turtle Creek Valley Council of Governments for the establishment of a Property Maintenance Code Joint Board of Appeals as required by the International Property Maintenance Code, and hereby dissolving the Monroeville Property Maintenance Code Board of Appeals.
Motion on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. John?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Before I get to the next one, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, last Thursday, we discussed these items in full, so if you're wondering why we're able to go fairly quickly through them, it's due to that reason. Tim, if you would.
Sure. Number 5, a motion to enter into a Turtle Creek Valley Hog Council of Government grant agreement to administer the multi-municipal comprehensive plan agreement with the Allegheny County Economic Development Department for $50 per hour. And keep in mind, we'll be splitting that with Wilkins and Churchill.
Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Resolutions, Mr. Little.
Okay, number 1, a resolution adopting the 2015 Allegheny County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Motion on the floor.
So moved.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Little.
A resolution adopting the Crunch Fitness Sewage Planning Module.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Little.
A resolution confirming the municipality of Monroeville has formally requested a Community Infrastructure and Tourism Fund CITF grant as designated an official to perform the required duties between the applicant and the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County, has authorized the execution and delivery of any and all agreements between the applicant and RAAC, and has assured where applicable, the provision of the local matching funds and will comply with all the other provisions of the application. This grant is formally requested for the Monroeville Community Park Project. This is for the tennis courts and basketball courts for $250,000 grant.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Second. Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Little.
A resolution to apply for a multi-municipal comprehensive plan grant from the Allegheny County Economic Development Department for the update of the municipality of Monroeville comprehensive plan with the Township of Wilkins and the Borough of Churchill for $50,000.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And thank you, Mr. Little. Sir, you are up.
This is an ordinance amending ordinance 1512 to exclude the community park located at 2399 Tilbrook Road and authorizing the Monroeville Foundation, Inc. to offer naming opportunities for facilities in the community park via application subject to final approval by Monroeville Council, and amending ordinance 2338 to delete certain language that's within that ordinance.
Motion on the floor.
Yes, Mayor, we discussed this on Thursday, and
Let's
actually,
get motion first. Motion on the floor.
motion to table.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Ratcher, and we'll remove over.
Mayor, I have a question
Sure.
on this ordinance.
No discussion on table.
It's a table and there's no questions, sir.
No questions,
None.
no comments,
None.
nothing.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't make the rules.
That's okay.
You can comment later on.
Yeah,
Yes, you can.
okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ratcher, any words of wisdom from you? We're moving our reports of municipal staff.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
All righty, Tim?
Yeah, I have one item. Joe, can you put up on the screen the recycle? Okay, this is a new recycling truck that we got on a grant that we wrote, $250,000 grant, and you can see the illustration on it. This was done by a contest that I talked to Dr. Nina Zetti before the end of the last year. And Joe, do you have the other
maybe the other, there it is.
Okay, this is the design that one of the students up there, Jenna Coulter, she did the design. We had a contest, and out of the 5 applicants we had. And go back to the other one, Joe. Okay, and this is this new recycling truck, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it's a signature of the young lady who designed it. So that's a new recycling truck that you're tax-paying money, which actually came from the state. It's paying for it. It has a lot more capacity, and what we're going to try to do, we've talked about for about 6-8 months, is we're going to be trying, we're going to take a neighborhood and try to pick up newsprint at at curb, because now we have the capacity just with one truck. But we really need a second truck to do all the whole municipality, but we have to get different kind of recycling bins, bigger ones, to be able to do that. So it's going to be a long, slow process, but sometime this year, we're going to pick one neighborhood to do that. So this truck will be able to do that with its capacity. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Paul
No, sir.
and Sean, any words of wisdom? And right now, Tim, if you'll grab our sheet, there were some sign-ins.
You changed it, there was 3 kids. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're going to open up now for public comment on any agenda that you'd like to address council with. And Pastor Bruce Schaefer, you are up first, sir.
Use one.
And I'll keep, for those of you that didn't sign in that would like to address council, you'll certainly have your opportunity. But Pastor, if you would.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. We've been able to accomplish a ton in 18 years, and we had some of the people from our church come out tonight, and we're so excited that Pastor Jeremiah from Harvest Church is here, and establishing a new church in the community is really growing and thriving. We're working together as a team, and we just asked the people to commit to come first of the month, and even if it was 2 or 3 or 5, we had a little more than that show up. But we just believe that we got our first sergeant here and a lot of military people that fought so they could live in a free nation. And I thought we had to honor them, and we had to honor some of our people that the Word of God tells us in 1 Timothy 2. First thing I want you to do is pray for those in authority, especially rulers and the governments, so we can rule and do business and live a quiet, peaceable life. And with the craziness going on in the world today, I think if we take prayer out of like we did schools and we try to please everybody, we run into issues. So as long as I'm breathing with my First Amendment right, I will be here every Tuesday night praying and ask other pastors to come also. The Bible says stand up for those that have no voice. So if they want to take your voice away, we're going to stand here to pray. So could we all pray together in public? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Father God, I thank you we can live in a community where your name can be proclaimed, and we've seen our church grow into the 1,000-something, Father. And we thank you that this community is one of the reasons that these men have worked with us so we can move forward and take ground, and it makes our community a better place. I thank you for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to which we swore on the Bible that men would take office and they could promote that wonderful God that gave us such freedoms. I thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
John Ritter.
Can I add?
Oh,
I can go next too.
I'll call him up, but I'm going by those who signed up first. John Ritter, please. State your name.
Sure, I'm John Ritter, resident of Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Manager, members of council. Hi. I wasn't able to be here at the last regular meeting held a month ago, and I had some folks try to stand in for me and make a presentation about a proposed ordinance that was on the table at the time, and so I would like to take a moment just to try to read it into the record here. Monroeville's council at the time was considering an ordinance regarding prayer before its meetings, and I understood that the Alliance Defending Freedom template was being proposed at the time, and I said that I agreed with its structure and approach, but would like to offer the following extensions, which I wrote at December 26, 2015, 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning. So this was heavy on my
You have
heart.
to talk
2
into
in the
the
morning.
mic.
So
Sorry, John.
so the Alliance Defending Freedom laid out in ordinance language the foundation for us being able to have these freedoms. That's why it's important to embody these concepts in language. So it did a good job of laying out all the whys and wherefores. Mine's an extension to that that specifically targets the following. So here's my ordinance regarding prayer extension. Whereas the citizens who comprise the government of the municipality of Monroeville wish to establish, oh, by the way, if you do a search for this on this little piece of paper here, you can play this back at your leisure and study. Because this is terse language, it needs to be dissected. So I put it on Facebook for folks to be able to play back. So it's whereas the citizens of Monroeville, the citizens who comprise the government of the municipality of Monroeville wish to establish a formal vehicle for standing before their Creator and nature's God when attempting to govern themselves in a manner that's fit to purpose for a good and quiet manner of living. And whereas Jesus of Nazareth has been declared both Lord and Christ by virtue of his unique nature as a God and man, and by his valiant effort in laying down his life for sinful and troubled mankind, and by his role now as sovereign, King of kings and Lord of lords, on whose shoulders happy governments do rest. Whereas he is alive by virtue of his resurrection from the dead, and by his position as being seated at his Father's right hand forevermore, from which seat he ordains governments to be built up or torn down, whereas he has commanded that all men everywhere should seek God, his kingdom, and his righteousness by making inquiry into his will, his purposes, methods, laws, statutes, ordinances, and ways, and to make supplication according to the needs of the citizens and of the day. Whereas those citizens do well to honor him by standing before him in reverent fear and wonder, making clear and right requests to him for his good attention, action, provision, and direction, with a view towards right obedience to him of his truth and ways and judgments by prayer, as deemed good by them as citizens on behalf of themselves individually, corporately as neighbors who have bound themselves together during their brief time on earth, and on behalf of their posterity, to whom a pledge is being made, and with a view toward those who came before them, but who now sleep, and to whom a debt is owed. Now therefore be it ordained that this municipality is part of a commonwealth and nation where in God we trust, and thus find it fitting to declare their need for his mercy, his provision, and blessing on their government and its citizenry as one nation under God, and to make such declarations from time to time, in public or in private, as befits men of free conscience and free will, and to declare their ability to freely exercise their right to stand before God in public or in private, individually or corporately, and pray as men do and as men should. And so the folks of Monroeville, whose government this is, didn't have a chance to review this and weigh in for or against it, however they might. But now they have a chance. And so I would suggest that the folks of Monroeville call the folks on council, call the mayor, call the solicitor, see if this makes sense, see if it has teeth, see whether it's a freedom that we desire to keep, and weigh in. And if the folks of Monroeville, whose government this is, once council and the rest of us go our way, these ordinances can remain and help govern us in the future. So look toward the future and take the time over the next month before the next council meeting to see whether this is an approach that Monroeville should take. Thanks very kindly for your time, folks. I know I went over my time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Pastor Jeremiah. Please
Thank
state
you.
your name for the
If you
record.
could sign in, sir.
He is signed
Thank you.
in. They're signed in.
My name is Pastor Jeremiah, Church Harvest Bible Chapel. 3 years ago, I stood here and asked you for permission to meet at Gateway Middle School, and you guys granted that about 2.5 years ago, and so grateful for you allowing us to do that. Now it looks like we're going to be able to move into the old St. Martin's Church building, and just praising God for the opportunity for that, and we're excited for the church that what God is doing and what He's doing. I just want to stand here as the pastor and just say we are just thank you for your service. And the other night we had a prayer meeting. We were praying for you, Mayor Gregg, and just thank you so much for the privilege to be here. And as Pastor Buck said, as we have the right to be able to stand here in a free country and pray, my desire is to pray for you and to pray for this city that God has allowed us to be part of. So if I can just take the last 30 seconds here and pray, I'll do that. Father God, thank you so much for these men and ladies here and their service, God. I pray that you bless them, bless their children, bless their homes, God, and just thank you for their service. Thank you for the privilege that we have to live here and to be in a free country. And God, we give you praise. We give you glory for what you're doing. We ask you to rule and reign. We thank you for Jesus Christ. In the name of Jesus, I do pray. Amen. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave the floor open for any Monroeville resident that would like to address council. If you would, sir, please. And if anybody would like to leave, we can give you some time now. If you would like to step out, you can do that. Hang on.
I just got,
Sign in. Hang on, let's let them
Yeah.
my name is
clear out
George-
first.
My name is George Lapsovich.
Hang on a minute, George. Let's let them clear out first. This is Mike on. In here.
It's going to be interesting.
That's what I was going to say.
Did you ask that guy for a walk? Did you get one? They used to have a church that they're going to move into, but that's what they had, a food bank there and everything.
Dang, George, what you do?
My church.
Yeah.
Go ahead, George. State your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is George Lapsovich. I live in Tilbrook Road in Monroeville. I just got one question to Mr. Little. Do we have a, and the mayor, I'm sorry. Do we have a contract stating how long Mr. Ratcher's going to be on board with us? Or is it month to month, year to year?
That will be,
It's actually day to day or hour to hour.
Oh, okay.
Anytime at council's pleasure, they can replace the solicitor.
Oh, that sounds good.
you all right there, Jim?
Okay. That's all I wanted to hear.
Truer words were never spoken.
Call 911.
You okay there, Jim?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Flu is holding.
Thank you,
It
man.
is.
Yeah, we'll get that out as we can publicly when it's appropriate. But anybody else would like to address council at this time? You all right there, Jim?
Yeah, I'm okay. Caught me in the pants down. I wasn't paying attention.
You dropped your glasses.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave the floor open for any public comment on any agenda item. We'll close that proportion of our meeting, and we'll move over to our reports. Thomas, we'll put you up at bat first, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say that Mr. Dice has served our community for 19 years. I want to thank him for his service to Monroeville. Mr. Dice is a friend and a colleague from my position as a Gateway School Director from 05 to 09. And thank you again for your service. I also have another, Joe, could you put up the slide, please? Here we go. You see Nikki, 2-year-old female lab, who was spayed up to date on vaccinations and heartworms, tested, and her heartworms tested negative. Nikki came to the shelter November 2015, missing fur on her back, thin, and it looked like she had just had a litter of puppies. It also seemed like no one gave her any attention. Nikki loves to play ball, go for walks. Older children who love to play ball would have a great time with her. Nikki is a very active dog and gets along with other dogs, but doesn't care much for cats.
Sounds like a dog.
Like a real dog, right? Since coming to the shelter, Nikki has thrived. She gets love and attention that she craves. Her fur is now grown back and is very shiny due to good nutrition. Please consider giving Nikki the loving home that she deserves. For information, please go to Monroeville, PA, Animal Shelter, petfinder.com. Thanks, Joe.
And we'll put that up on the website as well.
Okay, great.
Anything
Thank you.
else for us?
No, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Steve?
All I have is, I found out today that Mr. Jim Bender had passed away, and my condolences to his family. He worked here for the municipality for many years. I'm not sure, 30-some years, I believe.
Long time.
Yeah, he was a great guy, and I'm sorry to hear that. And I'd just like to thank everybody that came out tonight for their comments. That's all I have.
Paul? Good tonight. Okay. What's the matter with you? Oh, you sick, boy?
Can't talk.
Oh, well, keep it to yourself. Never
Yeah,
mind.
German
Thank you.
riddle.
Jim?
Yes, sir. A few items going on at the convention center. Kid Palooza, Saturday, February 13th. Steel City Kitties. February 13th and 14th.
You're gonna start.
No cornhole thing.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, Greg, what's going on tonight there, Jim?
Allegheny Sport Travel and Outdoor Show, Wednesday, February 17th through the 21st. The Train Toy Show, February 27th, 28th. Pittsburgh Fire and Rescue, March 5th and 6th. Westpac Spring Job Fair, Wednesday, March 9th. And the all-important golf show, Friday, March 11th through the 13th. That's what's going on at the convention center. And I'd just like to take an extra minute if I can. I'll try to talk fast. My condolences, Mrs. Bender. He was a great guy. You know, I'm going to miss him. You're a great lady, and if you need anything, please whistle. On the other side, I want to welcome Mr. Ratcher. And I'll say this. I've known the Ratcher family for a long time, and he knows that. He's a great attorney. I'm not real sure how savvy he is in municipal affairs, but there again, that's not my problem. On the other side of that coin, we all know Mr. Dice has become a friend. I'm going to miss him. There's not a person sitting up here politically that he hasn't helped in one form or another, including me, when it comes to getting elected, when it comes to staying in office. He's been an absolute, just a great guy. He's been also very, very active in the community for the parades, and Mr. Ratcher couldn't have said it any better, day to day, hour to hour. So it's one thing I learned from him 4 years ago. Every once in a while, I'd go up to Mr. Dice and I'd say, Bruce, I don't get it. Why is this the way it always goes like this? JJ, 4 eats 3. And that's where we are. With that, thank you.
Mr. Harvey?
I just wanted to tell the residents of Lorraine Drive that the street light in front of 4412 has been turned into Duquesne Light, and hopefully will be repaired soon. In case anyone, I got a couple phone calls, in case anyone has noticed the surveying going on down on Old William Penn, the property owner of the last home on the right going down the hill is having the property surveyed, both property lines and gas line locations, because they're investigating a possible development. I understand if this proceeds, notices will be posted and mailed out, and any questions, if it proceeds, I'm sure will be advised by Mr. Hugus. We all, at least those of us that lived in the area, I know Mr. Wilson has been looking into this, and I know a lot of residents in the area have been concerned about it, not to mention the rest of council, when it finally happened. We had a pedestrian struck by a vehicle in front of the Rivertown Poorhouse the other night. It wasn't just a bump, he was pretty severe. He was I think in his 70s. So with that, probably been due a long time now, I asked the mayor if he could help me get in contact with somebody with the county, because that is a county road. And with that, I requested to see if we could do some things like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to let Mr. Hugus just tell you what I shouldn't steal his wind, because he's the one that's.
We can
straightened me
steal
out.
it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's things you can and cannot do. It's a county road. You have to get the permission to do whatever you want to do. But with your conversation with the county representative, I'll prepare a letter and a schematic for them to see if they will approve a crosswalk with, some signage to make the motorist aware.
I guess,
That'll go to Director Shea, though, okay? And Mr. Thompson will follow up with that, okay?
Understood.
So when the letter's, hang on a minute, Ron, when the letter's done, please let Ron and myself know, and I will contact the county again on that.
Oh, I've already submitted a letter to the director of, the local director of the state highways, Lou.
Luke Warner.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mike Adams is working with Lou to find out a way to get those signs posted.
Okay, so
Well,
who am I sending the letter to?
I think if we go both ways here, I think it's important you send your letter. I sent mine already. Somewhere along the line, somebody will push and pull.
well,
So,
what happened here was, I talked to the gentleman over the phone. I asked him, he asked me what we'd like to do, and there happens to be a street light, maybe not 20 feet away, that's currently out. And with that, I was hoping maybe instead of getting it repaired, it might be on the LED corridor, which would be bright enough to lighten up that crosswalk. Maybe we could put a reflective type crosswalk on the roadway and post a couple signs each direction that says pedestrian crossing. So that's what I was looking for. He in turn checked with the powers to be and returned the call and said, make that request in writing and submit a basic drawing, which Paul's going to help me with, to show what we'd like to do. Now, as far as the repair or the replacement of the street light, I think we're going to try to get all Center Road done in LED, so there's no sense in paying to have that repaired with an incandescent bulb when we're going to change it anyway. I hope. So that's the report on that. Mr. Hugus, is there any update? Maybe you could help me out on the daycare center and the Times Express building?
Yes, sir. There was a zoning enforcement letter sent to the occupant concerning subject matter. They will be appearing at the zoning hearing board at the March 1st zoning hearing board meeting.
Okay. How about with the Temple property on Old Haymaker near Job's Funeral Home?
I spoke with the representative of the Mamia Group. They were going to clean the miscellaneous products out of there, the doghouse, the picnic bench. They're in the process of getting bids to do their project, but that's the status of it at this point.
Okay, and finally, you again, it is my understanding that we had a lot of complaints about the blighted house on Logan's Ferry Road, the first house on the right, and I think there's some updated news on that, is there not?
Yes, after some further investigation, we found another avenue because the individual, the owner of record is deceased, and we found the executor of the will, if you will, who lives in another state, and we've made an official writing to that individual.
Okay, so the rightful owner of the house now is living in another state, and we afford all the problems, or what we have to her, correct?
That's correct.
It's the daughter.
That's correct.
So everybody knows that's still going on.
question, Mr. Harvey, can we take action after a certain period of time on that property?
Yes.
Okay, so
It'll be the same action as we were going through with the current, when we were sending the letters to the current. They will have a certain time to clean up their property, or there will be citations filed at the district magistrates.
now, if that owner doesn't respond to your letter, they have a certain period of time until we can take action, is that correct?
Right, and I'm going to have some further discussion with Mr. Ratcher on the subject.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm sorry, Mr. Harvey.
Okay, almost done. Paul again.
I was going to say, I'm done.
McClure Road.
McClure Road.
You had somebody looking at it to make sure?
Yes, I mean, we were putting together the the road resurfacing program for 2016. McClure Road is on the to-do list, and, so hopefully we'll be in front of you maybe next month, if not the following month, with the full program.
And finally, I just wanted to say,
Am I
there's
done?
too much to actually say about Mr. Dice, so I will just say that for all his work here in the municipality over the years, I wish him luck, and I hope he has a lot of luck in his future endeavors. I want to thank him for all his work and welcome Mr. Ratcher.
Nick?
I'm done.
Yes, Mayor. Last month, we passed an ordinance 2641, which was to create an ad hoc review board to review the Home Rule Charter. The Home Rule Charter is our document that covers the general rules and regulations of our community. It was first put out in 1974, and then it's been amended, but the last time that it was amended was in 1997, which, we're getting close to 20 years. And so council approved an ordinance so we could create a board, an ad hoc committee, to look at the document, review it, see if there's anything that needs to be changed. If there are changes, if they recommend any changes, that would come to council. And then we would either agree or disagree with that. And then from there, it would be put on any kind of change would be put on a vote or a referendum. So it's like a three-phase, 3 steps here that we have to take.
Through the county.
Yes.
Yeah. Just make that clear, though, for them, Nick.
Yes, it's actually put on the actual ballot through regular election day through the county, so it's a multi-step process. But the first step is to set up a committee to review things, a committee of residents that, express their interest. Up to this point, since we've been advertising this for a couple months here, we actually have a total of 7 residents that were interested, and the ordinance is written so we could either have 5, 7, or 9 residents. And I would like to recommend to council that we actually just put all 7 residents that are interested on the committee. And I'll read them off here, and they will be in alphabetical order. First up is Ed Deal. Actually, Ed's interesting because he actually was on the original, he served as a secretary on the original committee in 1974 for our original Home Rule Charter. So I think Ed brings a lot of experience to the committee. He must have barely been 18 in 1974, so.
He'll pay you for that.
Yeah. But Ed's a good man, he'll be good. So moving on, once again in alphabetical order, Robert Gordon, Dave Cooker, Dave Palermo, John Ritter, Jason Sonnefeld, and Jennifer Taylor. I think all these individuals bring different areas of expertise to this committee, to this board, and at this point, I would like to seek a motion for council to accept that list of residents to serve on this ad hoc.
Is there a
board.
second?
A motion to approve that. Do we have to make
That's
a
what he
motion
just
first?
said.
Oh, he's making the motion?
I'm asking for a motion.
I'll
You
make a
can
motion.
Okay, there's a motion.
Second.
Second. Questions or comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Caleri? Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Can I ask a question about it now? Sure. Will they set up a time and a place, like a regular meeting? Will there be a liaison to that board? Anything like that?
Yeah,
Or-
well, the first, I guess, a couple things I failed to mention. We're going to ask them to submit a report to council no later than our December 2016 regular council meeting. That way we can kind of get the ball rolling to get on the ballot for the May primary. Also, this committee, or this board rather, will be dissolved December 31st of 16, unless, of course, council decides to extend that. As far as meetings, that's, we're putting that in the manager's court to coordinate that, to get them started. And then as far as
I'll have to elect a chairman, right?
yeah, they'll do all of that on their own. And then the mayor can sit in on various meetings if he wishes. Same thing with Manager Little. At first, they'll do that just to kind of get the board up and running. And then once the board meets, there is 7 people. They can figure out what kind of time frame they require, how many meetings they need to require. So I think they just need to get that first meeting set, and a lot of it will be determined from that point.
Will you chair that committee?
I'm sorry?
Doctor, will you chair that committee?
I believe actually it would be probably more appropriate for one of the board members to chair the
Okay.
meeting, and maybe just one of us serves as a liaison.
Will you be involved with that committee?
I would definitely be there for the first meeting, and then we'll see how that first
Oh,
meeting
okay,
goes.
okay.
And see if I want to be involved with it or not.
Thank you.
But I think this is, like I said, it's been about 20 years, and it's a good thing to examine periodically, and I'm confident that this group will do well.
Nick, just one comment. I would think that you would have Mr. Ratcher for any legal advice in case they are going down a road that they may not be. Because you got to remember now, they're also going to have to look at the borough code, which is a lot, as you well know, a lot of conflict between the two now. The borough code is overriding the home rule charter on many avenues. I would suggest strongly that you have Mr. Ratcher there.
Yeah, and once again, I think that can be established at that first meeting.
Right. But I'm just throwing that out.
No, it's a good
public
idea.
for that.
Whether it's Mr. Ratcher being at all the meetings, or if it's actually just the chairperson that reports to Mr. Little, any kind of things that they went over at their previous meeting, and any legal questions can be kind of done.
Whatever they work out, but I think
Exactly.
you need to keep a solicitor handy, is what I'm saying.
Oh, most certainly, I think the questions will definitely be filtered to the solicitor's office, so.
Very good. Anything else, Nick, for us?
Yes. Well, while we're talking about the solicitor, once again, thanks to Mr. Dice for his years of service to Monroeville. I wish him nothing but success and good health. I'd like to welcome Mr. Ratcher to the position. Confident he'll do very well. As far as any kind of my opinion or a vote or anything on these kind of matters, I do based on what I feel is best for the community and not necessarily what politics dictates. So we'll leave it at that. But welcome, Mr. Ratcher, and thank you, Mr. Dice. More goodbyes, actually. Anyone that's been to the Monroeville Senior Center, I'm going to kind of step on Mrs. Gatos' toes a little bit because she is the liaison, but I just briefly want to mention Larry Cadis, who has worked at the municipality for 28 years at the Senior Center. He's actually he's retiring, and if you've been to the Senior Center, you've definitely run into Larry at some point. He's those are some big shoes to fill. Larry is one of a kind, if you know him, and I wish him nothing but happiness in his retirement. So, congratulations to Larry. And then, lastly, a happy Valentine's Day to my wife and my girls. That's all I have for this evening.
Very good. Linda?
Well, since Nick stole the thunder on Larry,
Sorry.
I, of course, would also like to wish him nothing but the best of luck, and he will be sorely missed over there. Everybody knows who he is. He knows who everybody is. The seniors love him there, so, but he's put in his time, and it's time for him to go enjoy his life, so. But thank you, Larry, for everything you've done. I also would like to thank Mr. Dice and his whole firm. Some of his associates have also played a big part here in Monroeville for all these past years. I want to wish them all the very best for the future. And it is, I guess that is what that is. And I would like to welcome Mr. Ratcher up here with us and look forward to working with you. And lastly, happy Valentine's Day. We don't only love our families on that day, but every day, but a special extra little bump of love to my husband. Love you, hon. That's it.
All righty, and I'll try to be quick as well.
Mayor.
Sir.
I forgot to welcome Mr. Ratcher, and I'd like to say I'm looking forward to working with him, and congratulations. Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry.
No problem. And I'll try to be very quick as well. Congratulations to Larry, who was worked at our senior center, as it's been said, many, many years. He will be missed. To the Bender family, heartfelt condolences. And I know many of the residents in the viewing audience, don't know how many here, but he served our community and you as residents many, many years, and very faithful service. He will be missed. Again, I agree. Happy Valentine's Day to my lovely wife. Happy anniversary to my wife, and I forgot to say it on TV last week, so Holly, don't beat me. But, we had a great time on our anniversary anyway, even though I had to work and so did you. So And obviously to Bruce, he will be missed. I mean, like some have said up here, he was my friend as well, and I wish you the best in the future. And to Bob, you're my friend as well, and congratulations on as being our solicitor, and I am certainly looking forward to working with you for many years to come. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.